This is Sean V. Bradley, president and founder of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Group. And I flew all the way to Kansas City, Missouri with my video production team to be able to interview my friend and client with Dealer Synergy and Bradley Man, Danny, who's the dealer and GM of a 2-rooftop independent dealer group here. So Danny, can you just introduce yourself officially to the world?
Yeah, absolutely. Danny Zaslomski, general manager, Country Hill Motors.
Okay, so let's get into it. This is all about CarGurus. Can you turn around? This is going to be an interview back and forth, but I want you to turn around and just recap. How did this whole thing start? And just from your perspective as a dealer, how did you get me involved and what happened? And then I'll start asking you questions a little bit later on.
Yeah, certainly. So we've been a CarGurus customer now for, I believe, 4 years. And we started advertising with them just like any other online classified. And at the time, they were charging us something like $500 or $600 a month. And we put our cars out there. And a year later, they came back to us and said that your cars are performing really well, and we can prove it. And so we'd like you to pay more. At the time, I didn't think it was a big deal because paying $500 and going to $1,000 or $1,500, especially with them selling cars for us, I thought was reasonable. And then the following year, they came back to us again after we're paying like $1,700 a month and wanted to jump us to like $5,500 a month. And I'm like, whoa, what are we doing here? And around the same time, we discovered a couple of problems. One of the problems internally as a dealership was, and I'll call it a VIN decoder. I now know that it's more complicated than that, but their VIN decoder wasn't accurately decoding the cars. So talking about a Ford Explorer with a sunroof and ventilated seats and an Eddie Bauer package, when it came over to CarGurus, it would come over at times as a base limited without these extra options, which would in turn A, advertise the car improperly, but B, their value proposition where it says bad deal, fair deal, good deal, great deal, it would put us in a fair or not great rank, which would then limit the amount of leads that we're getting or put us in a bad selling position. Because what I know is that people don't just shop on one website, right? They go to AutoTrader, then they go to Cars.com, and then they go to CarGurus, and they would see a lot of these same cars in the same place, but to get the market information, because consumers want to get the best deal, and they believe that the best deal is the price at times, that wasn't serving us. So I called them out on it, and at the time they told me that they were going to work on fixing it, but a temporary solution was to give me access to the back end of their software so that I could then book out my vehicles to reflect what was actually going on with the options of the car. I thought that was an okay workaround, but not the solution I needed, because as a dealer principal, I don't have the time, nor do I have time to give to my team members to go out there on every vendor's back-end site and begin tailoring every single car. We just have too many cars in stock, and our turn is too fast to be able to keep up with that. Well, I went to Digital Dealer in about 6 or 7 months ago, and there I met with one of the senior CarGurus IT people. And he actually told me, sitting across the table with kind of a smirk on his face, he said, if you want to change the rank of how the car shows up, fair, good, great deal, then all you got to do is get on the back end and start clicking buttons. So he essentially told me to power book the car. And I didn't say anything, but I looked at him and thought, gosh, if he's dishing out that kind of information to me, who else is he saying that to? So super concerning. Well, here we are a few months later, and I get a call, not even a call, excuse me, an email from our performance manager that says they want to raise us to nearly $7,000 a month. Now, this isn't for anything additional that we're doing, right? They're not taking us from a featured to a premium or anything extra to get extra leads. This is just for the exact same thing we're doing, going from paying like $3,800 a month now, after being bumped 3 times, to doubling essentially our payment. Now, two problems here. First and foremost, we are, as dealers, being told that we should be power booking our cars to change the rank of the car, number one. Number two, consumers are being told what is a good, great deal in an unfair system, in an unfair marketplace. So because of that, I've chosen to not renew with CarGurus.
So how did you get me involved and why? And then what happened with that? Let's go to there.
Yeah, so I got really upset by all three of these things that we're talking about. Plus, I feel almost held hostage by the online classifieds that behave like this. And so I called you, and you had the idea of putting a web call together where we could broadcast this and share it. Kansas is a single consent state, so we were able to do that and share it with your Facebook group. And when we did that,
let's talk about the call itself, though, because the demeanor, because I listened to the call a bunch of times, and the call is published in our Millionaire Car Salesman group. It was very professional. I was, a lot of people that know me was like kind of surprised of how passive I was at first until the very end. Take us through that call. Like, what were you thinking when they were like, what they said, their responses to the questions, their attitude towards you as a client? Let's take us through that call.
So the feeling I had the whole time, from the very beginning, was these folks weren't interested in my success. They were interested in the success of CarGurus. And they made it very clear to me that they had a problem with their ranking system, but their other solution was for me to change my comments to use the language that their software needed to use in order to pick up on the options. So they wanted me to work off a dedicated list. So instead of saying ventilated seats, they wanted me to say air-conditioned seats because that's what their software could pick up on to decode the car properly. Unfortunately, CarGurus isn't the only online classified that I use. So not only were they not interested in making any concessions for the issues that their software has, but they wanted to charge me more for the same solution. And they were using metrics to tell me that I had increased growth in my sales that wasn't relevant, telling me that I was getting so many SRPs and VDPs and click-throughs, and telling me that they're not a lead provider. Well, let me tell you, you are a lead provider. CarGurus is absolutely a lead provider. They're nothing else but that. And so getting those customers knocking on our doors so that we can then take them through our process and give them a vehicle of value with our certification and our warranty and our good price is what we do. And that's why we work with online classifieds. So I left that call extremely disappointed because they took no responsibility in the issues that their software has for dealers. They took no responsibility in the misrepresentation that their software created for the public. And furthermore, they wanted to increase our rates by giving me false information on the number of opportunities I was getting, valuing the click-throughs and SRPs and VDPs over actual leads.
Thank you for the update. Let me turn and give you from my perspective. We work with a tremendous amount of dealerships across the country, and you weren't the only person that's been, having frustrations on CarGurus. I mean, it's all over the blogs, all over the entire industry that they want to turn around and they're just jacking up prices, doubling prices. So my concern was, I think you were spending around like $3,300 or $3,600, was it? $3,800, and they wanted to go to $7,000. Okay, so when we got on the phone call with your rep and his manager, I tried to give him the opportunity to explain to me, to justify what was the rate increase for. And if you remember, the first thing he said, because it's on the audio and the video recording, was because CarGurus traffic has increased. Not that your traffic increased at first. And my response was like, wait a minute, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean, what CarGurus traffic is doing or have you, if it's not increasing the dealership's traffic, first of all. And he tried to push it back. Here's the thing I want to make sure that people understand, and I want your opinion on this. Used cars are inventory-based opportunities. CarGurus doesn't have any inventory. They don't have any dealerships, they don't have any people, they have none of that stuff. And so they're taking your inventory, you're paying them thousands and thousands of dollars a month for your inventory, and when you give them your inventory, even if they don't do any advanced digital marketing or PPC, just organically, they're going to get optimized and indexed on their site. So if you think about it, if they have dealerships inventory across the United States and overseas, of course their traffic is going to increase because in part it's the dealership's inventory that's increasing the traffic. Do you agree or disagree with that concept?
I completely agree, and I'd actually take it one step further and tell you that the big thing that CarGurus was built on, it's actually in their text on their home page. It says something along the lines of linking you up with top-rated dealers and showing you where the deals are. Used cars are inventory-based opportunities, but they're also not all equal. Online, one vehicle may shine just as much as the next, but it's impossible for an algorithm to identify what the vehicle history is, what the service maintenance was, what reconditioning a dealer did to the car, what warranties they offer, what certifications they offer. Those things are of high value, and it changes the value of the car. And so therefore, it totally messes with the metrics.
No, it's crazy because I have a dealer client that did not want to get into the whole fray, who's, what I will say, is absolutely based in Illinois. And he's actually part of the CarGurus Dealer Council, and everything you said, he's actually told the CEO Langley directly all this stuff to deaf ears. One of the frustrations is that it's unfair because a dealer might, especially like you, an independent dealer, might turn and invest in value add-ons, reconditioning, new tires, of oil changes, car, whatever it is. And because some, like, no disrespect, but some crappy, dealership, God forbid, has a used car that's, it's a similar make, model, but it doesn't have all those other factors in, it could show up as a better deal. And that's really misleading to the public, because how are you going to turn around and rate a vehicle that's like got bald tires? I'm being dramatic for a purpose here. Bald tires, doesn't have this, doesn't have that.
What if it has hail? How do you tell the difference between a car with hail and a car without hail, or even paintwork or dents or any of that kind of stuff? The fact is, you can't, and that's why all of that doesn't belong in an algorithm.
100%. And the thing that really upset me and disappointed me is that, how long were you a CarGurus client for?
4 years.
4 years. The thing that really disturbed me as a partner to dealers, to a vendor to dealers, and a dealer advocate, is that you've got this company that makes $100 million a quarter off of dealers, and they didn't care about the equity in the relationship. I want you to talk about that. Like, how did you feel as a client of this company, and God knows how much money that you've spent over 4 years, and they're like, dude, you're beat, it is what it is, and then giving you like vapor answers?
Well, that's interesting. So when I talked to Kyle and John, which were the guys that were on the call with us,
your rep and the manager.
The rep and the manager. I thought that they were, first of all, they were very kind and they were very professional. However, they were very political in answering the questions that I had and going around the questions that they didn't want to answer. So I thought that was unique to them until I received a call from Langley himself.
Wait a minute, you actually received a call from the CEO of CarGurus?
I did, and that's thanks to you, Sean. Your dealer group, Millionaire Car Salesman on Facebook, reached him, reached his people. And I was at work, this was a couple weeks ago, and I get a message on a piece of paper from one of my salespeople that says a gentleman named Langley called, and here's his telephone number. And so I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who the CEO was, but I came up to an office and I picked up the phone and called, and he introduced himself as the CEO of CarGurus, and then also told me that he was the co-founder of TripAdvisor. And I said, thank you so much for calling. And I'll tell you that our call lasted right under 30 minutes, and I shared the same concerns that I'm sharing with you today. And he told me on that call that he wanted to base our talk in fact, in numbers, and that is exactly what I'm doing, and that is exactly what I've done. And that's also, and he reminded me about 7 times, that's I think I counted 7 times, that if I don't like the product, I don't need to be a customer. And I agree with him. I think it's not right for us to be a customer of CarGurus. And when I asked him about the ranking system, he told me that it was biased towards CPO cars, that they could only put into the algorithm the things that they could account for, variables that they can account for. And I certainly understand that as a computer person, as a programmer, as somebody working in a software space. But unfortunately, that doesn't apply, because if I have a customer that comes to me and is upset because CarGurus tells them that they got a really good deal on a car, and God forbid I sold them a car that wasn't a good car, who do you think they're going to sue? They're not going to sue CarGurus, they're going to sue me. So the onus falls on me, and you're right. I hold the inventory, I hold the investment, I hold the liability. And so what I left feeling with that call is the same language, the same information that I got from John and Kyle obviously came from Langley, because that's the culture of the company, and it wasn't based in a partnership. It was based in how much can they get out of a dealer. And I asked him. I said, for instance, the Federal Trade Commission has mandates on equal and fair charges for businesses when it comes to vendors. So I asked him, I said, what do other dealerships my size, my inventory size, pay? And he said, well, I can't tell you that. I said, well, why not? He says, because it's based on geographical location and all this kind of stuff. And he gave me a political answer. And I said, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to agree to disagree, because I think that's bogus. I left that conversation certainly not feeling warm and fuzzy, or feeling like they were going to make any concessions, or had any interest in my business succeeding.
So that's the thing that, I still can't wrap my mind around, that you have a company that's a publicly traded company that's making hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, where they don't care. Like, they don't care enough to say, you know what, how can I make this right? Or, can we meet in the middle? Like, from my understanding, there was no moving on anything, correct?
Not a dollar, actually. Not a single dollar. The only offer they made me is that if I signed a year contract, that they would give me a 10% discount. Again, they did the whole thing with a smile on their face. They did it very professionally. But just as they have to make a business decision, I get to make one too.
100%. A couple of things. This is the part that blew me away, is that once we put it into the group, it went viral. There's hundreds of thousands of views, thousands of comments. And what I love is it's not just like pitchfork mentality. Like, there's people that are posting screenshots, their stories, dealer principals, GMs all over the country in there. Have you read a lot or all of the comments and the posts based on this situation with CarGurus?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I have. I was flattered that Langley picked up the phone and called, and there was a moment that he was upset by some of these comments, because he thought that they were below the belt or vicious, and he used those words. But I will tell you that I haven't read anything in any of the comments that were below the belt or vicious. I think they may have been received that way because they may have hit a sensitive spot for him, and exposed a vulnerability that they are aware of, and either are or are not going to make any changes. If I was going to treat any of my customers that way, I would be out of business.
1000% agree. Same thing with dealer synergy. A couple of things that I found that was really extra disturbing to me between all this exposure that happened. One was that I saw over and over again that CarGurus scrapes inventory. Like there's dealers that were in a thread, and for everybody in the Millionaire Car Sales Group, it's right there that they're asking questions. How can a company take a dealer's used car inventory off their website, index it so they could drive traffic without the dealer's permission? Have you seen that before? And isn't that crazy to you that a company could just take someone's inventory for profit without permission? Or what are dealers able to do?
Yeah, so it's like it takes me back to civic class in high school when you're thinking about the way government works. A lot of movers and shakers out in the world are creative and create these things, and then government tries to chase and figure out how to either get their tax dollars or regulate it or protect the consumer. And in this case, the dealers are the ones that are protecting, because I agree there is a policy in place that protects dealers from giving away their inventory. I mean, ADF format, what do you think that stands for? Auto dealer format. There's a code, there's a language that that systems communicate in, but we are giving it away, and until we can take back our inventory, we're going to continue to go through situations like this. And there's certainly the other side of it, right? You can think, well, shoot, why wouldn't I want to give away my inventory? Because I want it all over the web and I want it in other places. Well, you know what? No good deed goes unpunished, because there's also been a lot of instances. I can count about a dozen instances where my vehicles, pictures of my vehicles, have shown up on bogus websites to drive traffic for finance applications and other things that in turn cause problems for Country Home Motors. So we feel very strongly that we do a very good job in procuring inventory, in reconditioning that inventory, in warranting it, in certifying it, and then selling it, and then protecting the customer after the sale. That is where the work needs to be done. That's actually the hard work. The easy stuff is to sign a contract and stroke a check. That doesn't take a lot of effort. So put the effort where it belongs.
Okay, here, I want to switch gears for a second, and I've taken a lot of time out. This is amazing stuff. Here's my thing, and again, as a consultant, one thing that just disturbs me, because I love this industry, 20 years next month, and I'm proud of what we've evolved to, and people have this negative stigma of car salesmen and car dealerships, and it's really not true. There's so much transparency, online reputation, social media, but yet there's companies, let's just say CarGurus, and there's other companies as well, that basically tell the public, in my opinion, I'm going to give you my opinion, I want your opinion on my thoughts, is that you need to turn around and go to CarGurus or ABC vendor because we're going to give you a fair price. We're going to give you a transparent price. And I said this, in the groups a lot, that to me, it's like, almost like a dig to dealers, you know what I mean? It's like, you can't trust a dealer, come to us. Because remember, these people don't have cars, they don't have dealerships, they don't have people, they don't have inventory, they don't have service departments, but who ordained these companies to turn and be the police and the authenticators of supposedly transparency? And yet at the same time, they are worse than what that the community thinks that dealers are. There's no transparency, with companies like CarGurus. There is price gouging. And to example, another one of my clients is a very, very close friend of mine. It's Rob Ruth of Bob Ruth Ford, Jason Coons, and he was shocked. He's got similar inventory to you, I think maybe even a little bit less, and the man is paying $5,000 a month more. If you're paying $3,800, he's paying $8,800 a month on CarGurus for years. So, and CarGurus doesn't really care. It is because of the market. There's like these political answers. So my thing is, how can they turn around and portray one face to the public, like we're the knight in shining armor, trust us, we're transparent, but then to the dealers, there's I feel, my opinion, there's no ethics, there's no transparency, and there's a lot of price gouging. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I agree with that. So, yeah, I mean, there's so much to unpack there. I think the foundational problem here is they're capitalizing on the easy target of dealers over the years have gotten away with making too much money, or dealers can't be trusted, or all that kind of stuff, and it's a bias that that's not true. And there's this quote unquote commoditization that's happening in the automotive industry. People say, and I actually really don't believe this much, because if you look at the airline industry and how my parents used to have to pick up the phone to book a plane ticket, and then they would call American Airlines, and then they would call TWA, and they would try to find the best deal. But then they would go and then have an experience, right? And that's how loyalty was built, because they may have liked American Airlines more than TWA. And so they chose to pay the extra dollars. Well, they got to do that flight in a day. That doesn't mean they got to keep that card for the next 2 or 3 years. And so you cannot commoditize a car in that way. The value here isn't just price, and that's so important. Now, new cars are certainly a different animal, but when it comes to used cars, the way that a vehicle is kept and serviced, the way that the dealer chooses to procure, recondition, warranty, and certify the vehicle, all plays a tremendous role in the value of the car.
100%. So that's a perfect pivot to transition. We talked about this before the interview. A lot of dealers feel trapped or held hostage. They need CarGurus in their misguided minds, including you a little bit.
Including me.
So let's talk about that, because that's what people are saying. Like, okay, we're canceling CarGurus. I had a national internet director development with a $750 million a year dealer group, for example. We had multiple dealer groups in a franchise and independent, and there was everybody was like not happy with CarGurus. People are saying they're canceling, they've canceled, and they're not even going to ever think about signing up with them. But the question is, what do I do? How do I turn around and not lose money, and not lose deals, not lose units, because we're going to cancel what they feel, these pirate vendors? So let's talk about that, because I want to give you on camera some suggestions of what you could do without skipping a beat. But talk about that, because even you had some concerns about, yeah, they're shady, they're this, they're that, but I still sell some cars with them. So let's talk about that and get it out in the open.
Well, let's talk about first, what I know. I know that, we haven't been here for 2 years. We've been here for 35 years. Now, I don't know that all dealers can say that, but the point is, we are a inventory-based opportunity business. And so if I have 3 cars and I'm spending $8,000 a month on CarGurus, it doesn't mean I'm going to be more profitable. I have to have the inventory. I'd rather have that $8,000 to buy cars. And so that's super important. But then, and this is something, Sean, that I knew, but I also learned from you and continue to learn from you, is I'm excited to take the money that I would be spending on CarGurus and investing it back into my team, in training, in sales process, in CRM follow-up, in bettering service process, in bettering communication with customers, and in partnering with vendors that truly care about the rise of my organization.
Well said. If I could turn on and have an applause button in the post, I'm going to do that, because that's fire. Amazing information. I'm going to share with you a couple of things. I'm going to kind of backtrack, reverse engineer what you just said. You hit something square on the head. CRM. The highest closing ratio for a dealership has always been prior customers. And for you to be in business for as long as you have, if you have your CRM set up the right way and your team is trained in a complete, not just surface or superficial, but complete, thorough, entrenched immersion in CRM culture, I think that is huge right there. Working your referrals, prospects, what you already are great at is the community involvement. And so that's the first layer, in my opinion, is your CRM. Second thing would be is, the things that are going to be the lowest cost per opportunity, cost per click, cost per sale, which would be social media. You saw the power of just this one little group, our Millionaire Car Salesman Group, how it affected a publicly traded company where we don't even have time to get into it, but like Fox News is involved investigating or what have you. I mean, it's crazy. It went viral. That's the power of social media. You have the ability, even as an independent dealership, to leverage Facebook, to leverage Instagram by both taking that amazing database you have, exporting your entire database from your CRM and DMS, importing it into your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, or whatever, and creating amazing strategic campaigns on your own current and past clients, but then also using the power of Facebook Ad Manager, like we talked about before, for conquesting, for campaigns, for demographics, geographics. For example, one of the things, I'm going to source this from AutoWeb. AutoWeb says, which is another publicly traded company, that 44 to 46% of new car purchase requests, new car leads, buy used cars. I mean, and most independents don't go after new car customers to flip into. And I'm gonna tell you right now, State College, Nissan of State College, Pennsylvania, this blew me away. We were looking at the data, and I could tell you firsthand, and people could go to Nissan of State College, there, because they're in a college area, 54%, blew me away, 54% of all of their new car leads bought used cars, 54%. And so those are the unconventional ways. Video search engine optimization, these are your inventory. Being able to turn around and optimize your videos, your images, your inventory online is huge. Another thing I would say is, there's other resources, especially, what's crazy is that a lot of independents and even big dealerships that sell a lot of used cars, they don't realize that new car providers also do used cars. So I'm gonna source to you AutoWeb. I like AutoWeb because they're a publicly traded company as well, but they have really good ethics and morals and a moral compass. But a lot of people don't realize is that there's not a lot of third-party providers anymore because they bought them all. There's only 3 major lead source providers in my opinion. AutoWeb, was formerly AutoBytel, they just changed the name, but AutoBytel acquired AutoWeb, Dealix, Car.com, which is formerly StoneAge.com, CarSmart, and these are major companies that they acquired, and so they have all of their platforms. So if you turn around and use an AutoWeb used car program, it is a fraction, a fraction of the cost of any of the online classifieds. That means AutoTrader, Cars.com, or CarGurus. And so you have major visibility at a fraction of the cost. Same thing for Cars Direct. Cars Direct is normally a new car provider, but they also have a major used car component. And people don't realize that Cars Direct parent company is Internet Brands. Internet Brands is a $4 billion corporation. They actually are the ones that took over and won the account from FCA, from Chrysler OEM, right from under Shift Digital. So there's those options, and then there's other I'd say like counterinsurgency type things like Walmart. TrueCar, with their exclusive relationships, they have used car programs. So what I would say is you can diversify your budget for what you were spending. You could turn on and take that budget and go through a couple of different sources. And be honestly, I like that better because to me, it's more of like a mutual fund concept versus a stock strategy. And what I mean by that is if you're spending 3, 4, 5, 8 grand on CarGurus, it's either gonna work or not work, and you could either have a great month or have a crappy month. But if you take that budget and spread it out, you're gonna have more visibility, you're gonna maximize your visibility, and you're gonna minimize your risk because you're spreading the risk out between multiple sources. What do you think about the alternative solutions I just gave you as a dealer?
I think they're awesome. I mean, you're speaking, as you're talking, God, I wish I had pen and paper because I'd be taking down all these bullets, and I'm lucky enough that you're here, so I'm gonna absolutely do that. To bring it down to my level for a second, one thing that I've always said is, I could get on Facebook and write free cars from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow. In the power of social media, I'm going to have a line out the door for that hour. And so what I do know is different is better than better. And so I stopped chasing better a long time ago and worked on differentiating ourselves and our brand And I do know that by advertising on online classifieds, it doesn't invest in our brand as much as doing the things that you're talking about in elevating our brand, because that increases repeat referral business and it creates the sustainability that we want.
I love it. So in closing, what's next? Where does this CarGurus drama saga go for you, for for the industry? What do you want to close with? What is there anything that you want to kind of leave the audience with, or closing statement, closing thoughts?
Sure, certainly. So I'll be bold in telling you that we are canceling CarGurus. We're not renewing with them. Today is the 28th, so I actually have 1.5 more days on CarGurus, and then that goes away. I'll be interested to see how much longer my inventory stays on, because I do know that they need my inventory, but I'm certainly not going to pay for it because I don't agree with the practices that they have, everything that I described. And so what I'm doing is, and this isn't anything new, it's continuing to dive deeper into the ROI numbers that we get here across all mediums, not underestimating our blue sky, what we do, the brand that we built, and how many of our troops on the ground, our salespeople, our managers, people that devote their lives to this career, to get on the phones and to get into the CRM and offer the service that we've offered for the last 35 years so passionately and effectively, and continue to go out and buy very quality cars and put the effort there. Because I will tell you, we're on a highway. It's I-35, one of the biggest ones in the country, and people driving down the highway care about one thing when they turn their head and look at our business. They hope that we carry quality cars and that we give a fair price and that will protect their investment after they purchase it. And so that's the promise that I work every day to keep.
Well, listen, thank you so much for sharing the time. And I'm as a vendor, I'm sorry that you had this experience with a company like that, but it's really their loss. You know what I mean? Because they exist because of dealers like you. And again, so thank you for your time and for sharing this update for the community. Thank you.
Thanks.